How you doing, everyone? Welcome back to NRL Fantasy Analysis. We're here to go through the Friday night games for DraftStars Daily Fantasy. And we have two games on tonight, the Tigers and the Warriors, and also the Rabbitohs and the Roosters. And you have the option to go for the 6K Friday night special, which has the two games involved. And you can select all players from those four teams. Or you have the 12K Tigers v Warriors option and the 15K. So I'm just going to show you the option where you can go through all the different players and the potential for selecting any one of them. And we're going to start with the outside backs across these two games. And some really big guns to select here are the James Tedesco, Latrell Mitchell, and Reece Walsh. I think they're the only three from the higher price bracket that you should be looking at. Teddy's coming off a much better game in round two. The Roosters really bad in that first one. So be aware of that average is pretty low for him with his his second game of the year getting a 58.9. Also be aware with their outside backs, guys, that there's every chance that they could score pretty low, and a little bit more boom or bust than guys in the forwards. For example, Latrell Mitchell and Reece Walsh come in to round three, coming off a 41.3 and a 51.3 respectively, and both have the opportunity to score really high. My only question here is going to be, are the Roosters going to beat the Souths comfortably? Are the Warriors going to beat the Tigers comfortably? Probably base it around who you think is going to win, because I think that this will play a big factor in which one of these guys goes well. So Walshy, for example, he's someone that is going to carry the team a little bit more than what Teddy or Latrell is. They just have a lot more better players around them than what Reece does with the Warriors. No offense to the Warriors guys, but Walsh is an absolute gun compared to a lot of the people in that side. But anyway, I think Reece becomes probably a slightly better option at the cheaper price point to be able to use that money elsewhere. If you get to the point at the end of your team creation, and you've still got a fair bit of cash available, then maybe a Latrell or a Teddy could be a good option. But I think all three of them have plenty of upside as some good selections in your side. And you might want to round out picking one of these guys, potentially with a cheaper guy. And a couple of good guys at this price point of the 12,380 and the 12,200 are that of Rocco Berry and also Campbell Graham. So with Rocco, he has an average of 30.8, so 29 and a 32 across the first two games, and that was purely in base stats, guys. So just be aware he's coming up against the Tigers, and there's an opportunity of him to get some attacking stats, whether it's in try assists or whether it's in tries for himself. So I think he's definitely due, and he's a nice, strong, big, strong boy, and I think he can have the opportunity to score well. Campbell Graham, on the other hand, comes off two really strong games, so a 49.5 and a 61.6. And that consistency without scoring one try in those two, if we want to have a look at that game log, trying that last game. So really a really special player, and someone who's a little bit more is one of the players that's a little bit more experienced in that backline for the Bunnies. So he's going to be a really solid option. I think you wouldn't look out of place having him in your squad with that nice 55 average. I wouldn't expect that coming up against the Roosters, but there's every chance he continues on that trend of being super consistent. Someone else down below that I think has a little bit of upside, and that's Jesse Arthurs. So he comes in at 34.1 average in his one game back since moving over from the Broncos to the Warriors. And I think at that 10,230K price point, you're going to see a lot of value from him if he's able to get some attacking stats. So, I think if you're looking to do really well in this competition, I'd say Jesse would be a great option for you. Other two guys that are of some importance and a bit more boom or bust would be Jackson Paulo moving to the right wing, and also Tane Milne, who moves to that left centre. So both of them have that little bit of boom or bust in them, but they are coming up against a nice defensive side in the Roosters. So be aware that they might get somewhere in the mid-20s to 30s this game, with the opportunity if one of them scores a try to go a bit better than that. And lastly, if you want to go real cheap, Stafford Toa comes into the centres there for James Roberts. So he's been named to start obviously, and someone at a cheaper price if you're looking for something different. Okay, we'll move to the halves and the hooking position, and a few guys of interest here are Damien Cook. So he comes in at a nice 18,770 price point at 53 average over those first two. He's done okay without being spectacular, a 57 in the first and a 50 in the second one. So yeah, look, you know what you're getting out of Cookie. He obviously has that opportunity to really boom and get like a 70 or 80. But at the moment, he's not looking like doing that. But again, if he's someone that you really like and think has an opportunity to score really well against the Roosters, whether it be through tackles or getting out of dummy half and possibly scoring or setting up himself, then he could be a good option. Other guys I'd be interested in is Connor Watson, but we're not exactly sure what he's going to be like coming back from a subluxation in the shoulder. Is he going to be at full strength? Is he going to be getting big minutes? I'm not exactly sure. So he's probably a hit or miss as a selection. Wade Egan has had a really good first two games, coming in at 16,130. A 59 average with a nice try in both games. Just be aware of that he might not get that every game, and it might be worth just selecting someone a little bit cheaper or going right up to the top guys, because if he doesn't score a try, he might end up in the 40s, and that could kill your efforts here in this league. So that's that. A couple of guys that are cheaper that I think would be interesting is Sammy Walker at 11,000. So coming off two lower scores, a 28.8 and a 36. He has found a little bit of consistency in terms of his base, and it'll just be now seeing if he can improve after that first couple of games, kind of come into his own a little bit. Him and Kiri have been started a little bit slow, so if Sammy can come into his own and do what we know he can, then he could be that boom player that could get you a 60 and help you win this competition. The other one to think about is Jockey Madden. So he gets to start over Jackson Hastings, who's been suspended for 3 weeks. So he's someone that scored in the mid-30s in his 2 games at the back end of last year. So if you can get a mid-30s from someone at his price point, that could be really, really, really helpful, for example. Because if you look into the forwards, what you see is anyone around that 9K price point, 10K price point has an average in the low to mid-20s. So I think at the 9K price point, if you can get a sort of a 30 out of him or 30 odd, even potential for more, then he could really propel you into winning this league. So that's that. And we'll move to the top guns on the forward side. And Cam Murray and Josh Curran are the two guys that I'd be looking at in your squad. And I think starting with one of them would be perfect. So Murray had an awesome game last week, 67.3, playing big minutes off the bench. And he's very much a focal point for the Rabbitohs. So he's a great option going into this game here. And Joshy Curran has been super, super consistent with a 62 and also a 65 across the first 2 weeks. So either of them, I think, is probably a must-have in your squad, at least one of them. And we move down a little bit. Someone like Ewan Aitken has a little bit of upside. If he manages to score a try, which we saw him do at the back end of last season. But moving down the line a little bit further, someone that has probably a little bit more upside to him would be Eli Katoa. So coming up against that left side of the Tigers, every opportunity that he can score a try and go over sort of for a 60 odd, for example, like he did in round 1. So if you were able to get 60 out of him with a try, you'd be well on your way to scoring well in this league tonight. So that's that there. And then you go for a little bit lower, and we speak about someone who's just come back into the fold, and that's Lukey Garner, that 11,820. Again, has that potential for a 40 plus if he's managed to get some attacking stats. So that's that for him, but not someone I'm too excited on. Whereas you have someone like Nat Butcher at 12,660, who comes into the starting side this week and off the back of a 2-try effort getting 70.4. So I wouldn't expect him to get 70, but anywhere around the 50 points mark for him would be absolutely ideal, and you'd be able to get some great points, so great value out of that 12,660 if you were to pick Nat Butcher. So that's another good option. And then just a one cheaper guy as well at that, where is he? Tavita Totola at that 12,280, just that slightly lower price point that has scored really well over the first 2 games with a 35 and a 46. So if he manages to play bigger minutes through the middle and it's a little bit of a wetter game, like it seems like it's going to be, then he could get you close to a 40 at a cheaper price. There would be ideal. So again, it's all about finding some value amongst these guys and seeing where you can put that money to work for guys to get that those decent scores and really load up on some of the big dogs who are going to get you the 50 to 60 to 70 in any of the 3 positions there. So that's that video, guys. And that last thing is just that flex. Obviously, selecting one more that would fit from any position is where the flex is at. So that's that, guys. I hope you I wish you all the luck for tonight's game. Let me know in the comments how you went with last night's game, and if you're looking to play tonight, that would be really cool. But again, hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll catch you in the next one when we go through the Saturday night games. See you guys.